Let's
Hi.
Hey,
Michael Lang, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. We're just about ready to switch classes here. So we're going to have a whole new class coming in. And they're really excited to talk to you. Do you have a few minutes?
I do.
All right.
Awesome.
Fantastic. You guys have any questions here? So what are you up to now? Where are you at right now?
You're not on the
You can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me.
You gotta be on the camera.
Oh, there we go. Where are you at right now?
I'm at home in my office
And home is in
near Woodstock.
Woodstock. Okay. That's
Nice.
fantastic. Yeah. You guys got any questions? We got, like I said, we have about 25 students that are going to be coming in just a few minutes. So,
No problem.
all right. I'm Bob Knipp, by the way. And this is Haley.
Yeah,
and
I'm
she-
Haley.
Yeah. You
Nice
talk.
to meet
How you
you.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
All right.
You did it the wrong way.
Did I do it the wrong way? Okay. All right.
You gotta turn on the light.
What did I do? What did I do wrong?
You did it wrong.
Flip the other way.
Like that?
Why did we put the towels?
I don't know. I just couldn't see him.
Sorry about that.
I can't see you guys too well. You're in the
You
dark.
turned the lights off.
Oh, I turned it down. Okay. I got it.
He's trying so hard.
There we go.
He's spazzing
There we
Am I on there now? I got to tell you what this class is, okay?
Yeah.
It's a history of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but we call it hippie history. And so our first unit is studying about Woodstock.
Uh-huh.
And so for the last 15 years, you've been coming into our classroom, and we watch the scenes that we can from the Woodstock documentary, from the Woodstock movie. So my kids are real familiar with watching you at Woodstock and those kinds of things. What are you up to now? What are you doing now?
Oh, God, a lot of stuff. I mean, we're working on some film projects. We're working on a Broadway musical about Woodstock.
When do you
And
anticipate that coming on? I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
We're shooting for the 50th anniversary, which is also is going to be another festival event.
awesome. That'll be exciting. And so you're doing a lot of different things right now.
A lot of different things. We're working on opening a music college here in Woodstock, in partnership with a guy named Steve Vai, who's a guitar player. You may know him, and Paul Green, who started the School of Rock. So the three of us are.
Yeah, sure. So do you frequent the Woodstock Museum there in Bethel, or?
I'm there occasionally.
Okay. I have a bucket list, and certainly one of the items on my bucket list is to go out to Woodstock and go to the museum. Since we've been teaching about this forever, so
Yeah.
yeah. So all right, so we're doing our switch here. I don't know if you noticed. Huh?
Mr. Brownie in person. I don't think that's where the camera's at.
Where's the camera?
Right.
It's on the computer.
Yeah, there's not a camera on your wall.
I keep looking up there. Why am I looking
Yeah.
up
To the wall.
there? You know, technology and I don't mix. That's why I have Haley here.
I gotta ask him a question
What's
real
that?
quick.
Can I stay in here just
Oh, just stay. Okay.
Oh,
I got
sick.
okay. Well,
You want to say something to him? Come over here. He's
Oh, right here.
here.
Right there.
so, if you could do Woodstock the same way all over again, would you? Or-
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
You want to
Might
get a
have
minute?
the gates.
Are you staying in here?
Oh no, I got lunch, dude. I'm hungry.
I'm sorry that we're going through that transition right now, class. I'm off the camera again. Darn it. It's right there.
Hey.
I gotta talk this way.
Yes.
I
Fantastic.
forgot there was
I got a question.
a bicycle.
Oh, you gotta get over here. There's.
I'm in front of the camera. What was your favorite performance at Woodstock?
Oh, good question.
They were a lot of great, but I think Sly and the Family Stone.
Oh
made it
yeah,
better.
Nice.
yeah, definitely. All right, this is awesome. Sit down, guys. Hurry up,
Yes.
because he's on. He's gonna run out of patience here. He's at.
Take your time.
Really? I just think it's fantastic that Haley contacted you. You know, I'm an old school teacher, you know, end of
Yeah.
my career, I wouldn't have even thought of trying to line this up and, you know, using this technology. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what it's here for.
absolutely, absolutely. You guys ready to go?
And then I haven't taken the Woodstock test. So
Get over here so he can see you. Oh, I'm flipping out. Got Michael Lang right there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's right there. Yeah.
I gotta get over here first.
Oh, I'm here.
I keep looking. I think the camera's up here.
No, the
No,
camera.
no.
I don't know where
It's right on the computer.
He's like, who is this lunatic and why is he teaching kids? Oh, you gonna get a picture of Michael Lang? Yeah. Okay.
Hold on, let me get a pose.
I gotta just for 1 second. It's better to hit the picture.
That's true. It's gonna be the school program. School program.
All right, and I'll get one right here. Okay. All right. Sorry about this. Are you guys ready with your questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we've had kind of an awkward few minutes here because we were just changing classes. Get in there so we can see you.
I can't see anybody because you're all in the dark again.
Okay, I got that.
Oh, I got it.
Get over there so we can see.
Where?
It's like 3 chairs right here.
I thought you were going to sit on seats up there. So that,
Oh yeah.
all right. You want to introduce this? And
Are you guys, you have your questions?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
he's being so patient. I appreciate that. Thank you.
On Fridays, we have advisement in the middle of the day, and I totally spaced that that's a thing.
That's my.
And it totally messes with my schedule. Yes. So you guys are gonna have sea lunch. So fun.
Everybody's
Yes,
okay with
yay.
that?
Yep.
If you're a visitor from another class, just we'll sign a sheet and hopefully they'll be patient with you. But
I'm gonna leave it the first bell so I just get lost.
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So questions.
For you or
Him, not me.
Where's the camera?
Why don't you
What?
raise your hand so we can, raise
It's
your hand.
on the computer.
All right, why don't you
So the
step over
camera
here
is
and-
on my Mac
Okay.
because my brother said when we tested yesterday it sucked.
Okay.
So,
Alright, you guys pretty good.
Great.
so yes, we
Everybody
have some
wave.
good.
All right, so go ahead. We're gonna
You
get
guys
started.
go ahead.
We want this to be student driven instead of my lunatic. You know what? So we'll let the kids ask the questions and go. from
Okay,
there. Thank you.
terrific.
Alright, so was the concert actually to raise money for a studio, like we've heard? And if so, what happened to the whole studio idea?
Okay, so it wasn't really to raise money for the studio, but the studio was one of the projects we were trying to accomplish back then. There weren't any remote, sort of home studios at the time. Most of them were in the cities, and Woodstock seemed like the ideal place for a studio for musicians because there were so many bands up here. But the concert was sort of alongside of that plan.
Cool. Very good. Who's next? Stand up. Stand up. Don't be shy. Here we go. We are.
No.
We're good.
So I have 2 questions. My first question was, there's 2. How long was your hair at that point in time?
You saw the concert.
I never really measured it.
Alright, okay. And my next question was, how many girlfriends did you have?
I had a few, I must admit.
I tried to censor these questions.
No.
Okay, who's up? Stand up, please.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Can you use?
Tell us something that none of us really know about Woodstock.
God. That's a good question. Did you know that we had tickets for sale and that we had sold 186,000 tickets 2 weeks before the show?
Did not know that.
Now, can I follow up on that?
Yeah.
When it became a free concert, how bad did you freak out?
I didn't really freak out. We were in the middle of sort of this amazing event, and it was just, acknowledge it and move on.
Now, is it true? Is it true that you eventually recouped the losses from Woodstock through the album and through the merchandise and documentary from the movie? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Students.
Okay.
Go.
What were your first thoughts when it started to rain?
Oh, that's good.
I had some experience with rain. I had done a festival in Miami the year before called Miami Pop, and the second day we got completely rained out, so I was familiar with rain. It was just, batten down the hatches and get through it. What was scary about the storm on Sunday was that the winds were about 50 or 60 miles an hour, and we had these big, big towers that the Super Trooper lamps were, and these are lights that weigh about 500 pounds apiece, and they were sort of hovering above this crowd of 500,000 people on them. So that was a tense moment.
Yeah.
Next question. Come on, let's be ready with the questions.
Alright, I got one.
Okay.
When the concert was all going on, were you like in the crowd with the people just chilling, or were you up on stage trying to move people around?
Yeah, there was no chilling that weekend.
Okay. Next. Let's keep it moving.
What was your favorite act?
My favorite act, it's hard to say. It was just such great new talent. Santana and Joe Cocker and Crosby, Stills Nash were all brand new act. My favorite performance, I think, was Sly and the Family Stone.
Awesome. Yeah. Next question. Keep them on. You got one. Go ahead. Stand up. Stand up.
Was there anything that you didn't anticipate other than, the rain and the constant?
Yeah, we didn't anticipate that 2 million people would try and get there. We had built for about a maximum of 200,000 people, and as I said, since we'd sold so many tickets a couple of weeks before, we kind of knew we were going to get, huge crowds, but we certainly didn't envision that in the beginning.
Okay, we have a question from back here. I don't know. Can you see?
I don't know. How did Woodstock affect your reputation? Like, were there a lot of opportunities that came from that in a positive or negative way?
Yeah, the reputation was that I was somebody who did weird things, and well, I got a lot of weird kinds of opportunities. But Woodstock was a project that wasn't a career move for me, but I did find myself in the entertainment business after that. So that's how life goes.
Awesome. Another question.
How involved were you with Altamont?
I got a call from the Grateful Dead office about 3 days before Altamont, and they asked if I would help them come out and help them move their site, which is basically what I did. But I wasn't really involved in the planning or execution.
What did you think of the Hells Angels and their performance at Woodstock? All right, Altamont, excuse me.
As soon as I heard that the Angels were going to be their security, I knew we were going to have problems. So I just, it was insane. It was the worst day I've ever experienced.
Imagine. Question back there?
I was just.
Let's get a question. Go ahead.
What was Weighty Gravy like?
He was amazing. The whole Hog Farm group were amazing. We brought them out because they were a commune and they were used to large gatherings and helping people sort of set up campgrounds and campsites. And they were also very familiar with what happens when you take bad LSD and so they were an amazingly effective part of the whole event. They really lent a lot of the spirit of a community that came together there.
Here we go.
Did you ever consider canceling Woodstock after?
Did I ever what?
Did you ever consider canceling Woodstock after
No.
the rain?
No.
More. Keep going.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Have you seen the movie Taking Woodstock, and what did you think about it?
I have seen it. In fact, I was there the first day of shooting, and I was watching my character, which is played by Jonathan Groff, out in a field making a deal with Maxie Asger to rent his farm, and it was kind of like an out-of-body experience. The movie, the problem I have with the movie is that they never really got to the music. And the story, Elliot's story was kind of a lot of his imagination.
Hey, you have first-hand experience with that on your Twitter.
I thought I was sending tweets to Elliot, asking about Woodstock, and come to find out he's been dead for 2 years. But I've been getting responses. Yeah. I'm doing my research. What else? Come on, keep it coming.
Do you feel like there will ever be another Woodstock? And if so, will you be involved in it?
We are planning another Woodstock for the 50th anniversary, which is in 2019.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
That's awesome.
What do you think about what are you planning for the musical?
Planning for the musical. Well, what are your plans for that? How's that going to play out?
We're working on the story now. The music will be the original music from that era.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to get the story right.
Another question. Keep going. If you've got questions, keep going.
Can you give us any ideas as to what sort of acts will be performing at the 50th anniversary?
It's a little early. What kind of what we have in mind is any of the acts from the original show that are still performing, like Santana and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and maybe Arlo and Country Joe will be part of it. But it'll be, very contemporary acts. It'll be, Coldplay, and we're thinking of having, like Bruno Mars do a tribute to Sly and the Family Stone, and Lady Gaga doing a tribute to Janis Joplin, those kinds of things.
We're all attending. More questions. Keep it coming.
How did being a part of Woodstock change your life?
Did you hear?
It's one of those things that you never get away from. But it's been it's been very positive. People who come up to me and ask me about it are always very positive about it. People who were there always tell me their stories and tell me how it changed their lives for the better. And so it's been very gratifying. I mean, I was very fortunate to be a part of it.
Go ahead.
What do you want students to know about Woodstock today that you wouldn't normally know, or what you want us to personally know?
I mean, I think what's important is we were a generation of kids who were out to change the world. We were against the Vietnam War, and we were very vocal about it. And I think the lesson that you guys could take from it is that, if you want to create a world in your own image, you have to get involved. You have to sort of make your voices heard. And I think it's critical, especially with what's going on in the country now, which is weirdly very similar to what was going on under Nixon, that it's important that if you have, opinions about things and values that you want to sort of profess, you can get out there and make yourselves heard.
If you had the chance to change anything about Woodstock or redo it, would you change anything?
I probably would have gotten the ticket booths played.
The tickets.
We never got our ticket booths in place, so the people were looking for a place to buy tickets, but there weren't any.
Kind of a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
I tell students that the original plans, you were thinking maybe 40,000, 50,000, then it swelled to 200,000. At what point did you realize this was a monster?
Well, 50,000 was what we put out to calm the public.
Oh, okay, all right. I lied again.
200,000 is what we were building for, and as I said, as it got closer, we realized we were going to get much more than that.
Okay. So I've been telling them lies, but that's okay.
Why do you think Woodstock was such a great success? What do you think had that happen?
I think it was, Woodstock took place at a kind of a dark time in America and around the world, and the peace and love and flower power movement was slowly sort of dying on the vine. A lot of the political groups were turning violent because things weren't happening fast enough for them. And there were the assassinations of Kennedy and Martin Luther King the year before, and a lot of concerts and events were having riots at them, police using tear gas. It was a pretty desperate time, and we thought, let's give peace a chance. Let's see if we can get together ourselves in the country, outside of the cities, outside of all that pressure, and see if we can make our society work. And I think everybody who came had that goal in mind. And once they got there, and we're meeting so many people who had like-minded ideas, that everybody sort of strived to make that happen, and it was kind of magical in that sense.
Go ahead.
Did any bands or artists turn down playing at Woodstock? Did they not want to play?
It's not that they didn't want to play. We wanted John Lennon to perform, and Nixon wouldn't let him into the country because he had such a vocal anti-war status. The Moody Blues were stuck in the studio and couldn't come and play. The only ones who turned it down were Led Zeppelin.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to build off of that. So
Yeah, come up here so he can see you.
So for all the artists that you did get on board with it, how difficult was it for you to negotiate with them and get them all on the same place where they'd be happy with it? And why do you think that they came out to play at your festival when obviously they could play at all these other places as opposed to the small town?
Well, first of all, we set a limit. The highest price we were going to pay, it's called Favored Nations, was $15,000, and so that's at the top price. And once we had booked, substantial number of acts, 3 or 4 major acts, and the word went out as to what this was going to be. This was going to be sort of the gathering of the tribes, if you will. Everybody just jumped on board. Everybody wanted to be a part of it.
Go ahead.
That answer?
Yeah.
Did all the bands and artists get paid equally?
No.
Which one was paid the most?
For example, the top we paid anybody was $15,000, except for Hendrix, who we paid for 2 sets, at $30,000. But like Santana was an act that hadn't even recorded back then, and I think I paid them $1,500.
Wow.
Yeah, a little different than
And they were phenomenal.
They were amazing.
That's amazing.
Did Jimi Hendrix, did his ego get in the way of some things, as in pay and the time he wanted to be the last act and whatnot?
Yeah, it got in the way for him because he could have played trying to have him like people. Instead, wound up playing Monday morning in front of 40,000 people because he wanted to close the show. But I'm not sure if that was him or his manager.
Okay, go ahead.
Reverting back to the band's question.
You can come around
yeah.
quick.
Okay.
You gotta get on camera.
Did Led Zeppelin regret turning down the concert considering it was such a big success?
I think they had enough success on their own that they weren't bothered by it.
Just a little bit. A little bit. Go ahead.
So how much did Richie Havens get paid for having to play for an hour and 45 minutes longer than he thought he would?
He got paid the same amount he would have gotten paid before. I just wouldn't let him off the stage.
Yeah, is it true he was chosen because he was there?
He was not because he was there. Tim Hardin was supposed to open, and Tim wasn't in great shape, and so I spent an hour and a half running after Richie trying to convince him to go on first. It was because his band was basically acoustic, and because all of his equipment was there. The problem we were having is that a lot of the equipment trucks were stuck on the road. So as they started to come in, that's when we started getting bands on stage. But Richie was, fortunately, because I thought he was a great opening act, agreed.
Absolutely. Got a question back there. Can you come up here so he can see you? And you're ready. You're ready with one. He's going to work his way around. Why don't you? Go ahead. Stand up. And work your way.
So, What was Max Yasgur like to work with?
Max was amazing. He was a Republican. But he was one of those guys, who had a real backbone, and once he gave you his word, he lived by it. As things started to progress, we were only in Bethel for a month. We lost our sight in Roadkill a month out, and luckily found Max the next day. But he really stood up for us. Once he made a deal with us, he would not back down. A lot of the people in town, his old friends, turned against him. Why are you letting these hippies in and all this stuff? But Max really stood by it, and was an amazing human being.
Okay, one right here.
It's funny. Max had a heart condition, and I would call his house because I would have to make a call to tell him I was putting another 3 miles of roads across his fields or something like that, and just say, "Hold on, give me a half an hour. Let me put him in the oxygen tent first."
What's an act that wasn't there that you would have liked to have there?
I would definitely have liked to have had John Lennon. I was corresponding with Apple, and we were trying to get him in, but couldn't. And the day that we lost Walkill, they sent a letter arrived at my office from Apple, and they were offering me James Taylor and Billy Preston and Plastic Ono Band, and I never saw that letter until I started writing my book. So they would have been a great addition as well. And of course Dylan would have been nice.
Yeah.
Okay, you're up next.
All right.
Quick.
Do you think that if Led Zeppelin had made it, if they really would have fit in with the other music? Because their stuff was a lot heavier than the other stuff.
I agree.
And also, we had kind of heard that some people think that the heavier music was kind of caused the violence at Altamont.
Or Altamont, or even Woodstock '98.
Yeah.
It wasn't the music that caused any of the violence. It was definitely the interaction with the Angels. I mean, I was there on stage through the whole thing, and it was just, hell that day. but I think Led Zeppelin would have fit. And certainly with Hendrix.
Oh yeah.
Great question. Go ahead.
What is the weirdest thing you saw at Woodstock?
Keep it PG-13. We're in a school.
Yeah, I better not go there. So.
Great question. Tell us when the students leave. I'll tell. Go ahead.
Is there anything about Woodstock that not a lot of people know that you know?
Pretty much, I think everything is kind of known by this time. It's been almost 50 years, and so many things have been written about it. I think the one misconception is that, that the fact that it was free is why it was so successful. I mean, it was free because we didn't have a place for people to buy tickets. I think people would have bought. Woodstock was conceived with the idea that you could be a part of it whether you could afford a ticket or not. We had free stages and free campgrounds and free kitchens, and everything turned out to be free. But we were certainly preparing for anybody who wanted to be a part of it to be there. And a lot of people would have bought tickets. So I think it was just the times. People were longing for a positive kind of feeling about the world, and I think that's why it happened the way it did.
Awesome. Got another question.
Are you in close contact with any of the performers from Woodstock to this day? They're still alive?
Yeah. Close contact. We're friends, and we see each other from time to time, sort of around the country. Certainly Crosby and Stills and Nash and Arlo and Carlos is a good friend, and so yeah, we stay in touch.
More questions? Come on, keep them firing.
How did the townspeople rally to help you out?
It was an amazing, actually, experience for the town people as well. In the 60s, throughout the 60s, there was this huge generation gap with our parents from the 50s. It was a very conservative America, and suddenly, there were all these freaks everywhere. And there was a natural kind of fear of the townspeople being invaded, as you can imagine. It was a town of, several thousand people, and 500,000 people were descending on them. But once they interacted with the kids, they realized that these were just kids, and they had a great time talking with them, and so they all sort of jumped in and to help any way they could throughout the weekend.
Are you from around Bethel, New York, or are you like, did you have to drive a long ways to get there, or what?
Well, I was living in Woodstock at the time, and Bethel was about an hour, a little over an hour away. But once we set up there, I wasn't traveling; I was living there.
Yeah.
So like, what are you up to nowadays? And like, any free time that you get, like, how do you spend it?
What am I up to now?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of stuff. We're opening a music college in the town of Woodstock. To hopefully open in the next 2 years. We're working on a Broadway musical about Woodstock. Involved in the production of a feature film based on a Russian novel called The Master and Margarita. And we're planning our 50th anniversary event.
It's awesome.
That's sweet.
Busy.
What was the biggest tragedy at Woodstock that, like, you personally were included in?
Well, the biggest tragedy was on Saturday morning. One of the kids who were at the festival fell asleep under a tractor on a farm nearby, and the farmer came out the next morning, started his tractor, and was killed. And that was a horrible tragedy for us.
Yeah.
Got one? Okay. Can you get over here so he can see you?
Yeah, I know.
How's your relationship with Joel Roseman?
Very good, actually, these days, strangely enough.
Was Woodstock based off any other concert you had seen, or was it like just a fresh idea that just came to you one day?
It was a bit based on the Miami Pop Festival that I'd done the year before, and it was a bit based on when I moved to Woodstock that year. There were concerts out at a local farm, and they were overnight events, and just talent was local, but local was Van Morrison and Richie Havens and people like that, and it just seemed like the perfect way to listen to music and to get together with people, sort of out under the stars, and so that was a big influence on bringing it out to the country.
So,
I only have a couple of minutes left, so.
Two more questions. How's that?
I'm sorry. Great.
So, whose idea was Woodstock originally? Because we've heard that it was yours, and we've also heard that it was Joel's. So, where did that come from?
It was actually Artie's and mine. And we brought that package to John. Joel's memory's a little dim sometimes.
One last question. He's got to run. Go ahead. Well, we'll just close it this way. I can't tell you what a thrill it has been to have you speak to our classes. Again, I've been teaching about this for a long time, and this is like it's like the Super Bowl. We appreciate it. and Haley made it happen, and I really appreciate the interactions
you guys
had.
much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Haley.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you. This was
All
great.
right.
I think it's great that you reached out. So
Yeah, thank you for being so willing to talk.
Yeah, sure. Pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye now. Michael Lang was
Are you kidding me?
So can we just go to the
Yeah, just go to lunch. I don't know. We're gonna make it a double.
Woodstock.